Hi, this is Dr. Cynthia Clark, acupuncture physician, applied clinical nutritionist, and creator of Energy Evolution. And I'm also the president of Longevity Wellness. And this is a really cool day. This is a really cool day. So this is a great success story. One of the situations that I work with in clinic is COPD and lung respiratory conditions. And there can be many factors that go into a diagnosis of COPD, which is an obstruction. We call this an excess condition in Chinese medicine. It's an obstruction of the lungs. And I want to show you something I've been working on that we just had this breakthrough with today. And it's really, really, really amazing. So this is an early stage COPD client. This is someone who's doing really quite well. But there's always a lingering cough, and that's an indication that there's likely going to be further difficulty down the road. As you know, it's easier to fix things sooner rather than later. When the lungs are in this compromised but okay situation, then what happens is that when those lungs are exposed to a low-level toxin, something that other people can be fine with, but this particular set of lungs, it might be somebody walking by with perfume, or it might be walking into a store and like a Walmart, and just the neurotoxic chemicals that are in the air there tax the lungs and make it very difficult. One person told me that she had inhaled some sparkler on New Year's Eve. She'd been standing right next to it and she breathed it in and it really caught her lungs. One person, it was the downstairs neighbors were smoking pot and it was coming up through the floors and taxing her lungs. So things that otherwise might be not that big of a deal, these people would really suffer, or even a low-level mold exposure in the house, which none of these things are good, but they require moving your home. So usually you got to deal with it for a minute before you can change the situation. So here's what we did. There's a device that I use in my clinic called an endocardiograph, and it allows us to see a graphical representation of the lub-dub sound of the heart. So lub-dub the lub should be twice as loud as the dub. So the lub is going to be twice as tall and twice as wide as the dub. It's going to be 4 to 5 nice, tight, dense peaks, ideally. And it's going to be, it's going to have a specific spacing between the lub and the dub, which is a 1 to 2. And it's also going to have a nice, solid, steady line. So I want to show you how far I got before I did the next step. And this is really cool to me because this is something that even that was told to me that was impossible to be done. And I figure that person just didn't know how to go about doing it. So here's what we find. Let me switch this over for you. Okay, so what we find is that in this first graph, you see the pulmonic is right up here. And you can see that this doesn't look much like a lub-dub at all. It looks like a dub-dub-lub-lub, dub-dub-dub-dub-dub-dub. It's very irregular, very difficult to see the pattern. Now, this is from February 2019 to January 2020 that we saw this much improvement. So we're starting, and this is the pulmonic valve. So this is where the heart connects with the lungs. And we start to see this improvement of like, okay, it's coming more into a pattern, but there's still a lot of irregularity. There's still condition that tells us that this is still a compromised lung. So here's what we did next. We ran an experiment, and we used a product technology that helps to stimulate stem cell production to see if that would make a substantive difference in the lungs. And sure enough, here's our report on January 2nd, and here's what it looks like today, where we're starting to look like much more of a lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. Now there's still a little bit of room for improvement. We want to see this lub go down to a dub here, but dramatically improved results from the lub to the dub. And that client is feeling fantastic. For the first time in years, there's much less cough. There's always been a little bit of a cough. There's much less. And it's why I really, really love working with respiratory conditions because we can see the improvement. This is happening because the alveoli in the lungs are starting to come back to life. And this is just wildly cool. This made my day and I wanted to share it with you. So if somebody tells you that you can't heal, you just know that you're not talking to the right person. You have faith that you can heal, and you keep looking until you find the right answer and the right solution. And I'd be happy to help you with that.